Hey, welcome to another devblog episode. Today we're going to look at new foot switches for Bridge 6 and Bridge 4, our new product packaging. We've got a new PicoMod prototype, and also looking at some of the changes to device API in the new Bridge OS firmware. Let's take a look. Alright, so first up we've got new PicoMod prototypes. Now, if you haven't been following along, go and take a look at some previous devblog videos. PicoMod's our upcoming new open hardware platform for retrofitting, modifying pedals, building your own MIDI controllers, all that kind of stuff. Anything under the sun to do with MIDI, then the PicoMod is for you. If you're just getting started and want a great little development platform, then it's perfect. If you're a seasoned maker, then you'll love some of the features built into PicoMod. So this is our previous version here. See that? Not too drastic in terms of changes. Here is our new version. So you can see there's a color change with the board. We've got a really nice purple and gold, so an Enig finish there. The Enig finish, apart from, stop focusing on my face, there we go. Apart from looking really nice, the Enig finish offers slightly better corrosion resistance, is arguably a little easier to solder to. So if you're still finding your feet in terms of the maker world, or soldering or things like that, you'll find it a bit nicer to work with. It looks really nice. Some of the silk screen labels have been cleaned up a bit, and just the board's been tidied up a little, as you can see. And then you've also got on the back here one change. If you can see, I don't know how well you can see it, but just there, there's also a little RGB LED. Now, why that's cool is because you've got an onboard LED for status indication, whatever you might want to use it for, but also the output of that goes to one of these pins here. So they are addressable LEDs, which means you can replace your old single color foot switch LEDs, or whatever it might be. If you're modding a pedal, or if you're building your own MIDI controller with PicoMod, then you can take advantage of using addressable RGB LEDs on one of those pin outputs, which is really cool. Very, very cool. What's next? We've got our Bridge 6s. Now, if you see something different, that's because we've changed our foot switches. I'm trying to get close to one of these bad boys. So these are a new style of foot switch compared to our older ones, which have the more rounded tops. Now, we made this change for a couple of reasons. The first being these are a high quality foot switch, we feel. They've got a nicer action, probably a smoother travel. They're also a little bit quieter. But we're also sort of still dealing with some of the supply problems that have rippled on from those, 2020, 2021, 22 years. And as we all actually originally really wanted to use these switches, and it's a bit of a long story, but we went with these ones. But yeah, we're really excited about these new foot switches. I think they have a really premium feel to them. We still have a couple of Bridge 4 models on our shelves that use the older foot switches, but all Bridge 6 orders that ship out will be using these new foot switches. So for comparison, here's trying to hear the sound difference. So this is the older one. Not too bad. And this is the newer one. I'm pressing them about the same sort of force. So yeah, much quieter. They feel really smooth. They look fantastic. And they also should be a bit easier to fit switch toppers on if that's your thing. So very cool. Okay, we have new packaging. Woo! Now this has been a process. We actually put the order in with the factory for these months ago. Like not just 1 or 2 months, like months and months and months ago. And we put these in via sea freight, which means if you're not familiar with, sort of logistics supply chain, if you get something from overseas, you're either going with sea freight or air freight, unless it's, on a shared border. Here in Australia, everything comes from overseas, so shipping takes ages. Air freight, not too bad. Shipping freight, very slow, but a lot cheaper when you're getting, big bulky things. When you're ordering, a lot of cardboard boxes, it's multiple big, heavy boxes. And so getting them shipped via air freight just really isn't, it doesn't make sense for pretty much anyone. So we got these via sea freight, and then our our boxes got lost at the port, and we were waiting for them and waiting and waiting, and no one could tell us where they are. And then finally they arrived. So we're very excited about this. Simon did a great job on the design, I think. So got a really nice kind of browns there. So this is our this is sort of the sleeve, and you can see there's some nice spot UV there on those switches. You got your bridge 6. It looks really nice. Flip the cover off, and this is your Pirate MIDI bridge 6 box. Open up inside. I'll give you the unboxing experience. Not just a new box, but a newly designed insert. So we had some issues. If you were one of our Kickstarter backers, thank you. You are wonderful. You remember we had a bit of an issue with the original packaging in terms of the insert, and the problem was that on these insert flaps, there was just enough height that the insert could rise up in the box, and then the bridge could actually kind of go underneath the insert, and then it would be sort of, you know, loose in that cavity under there, which obviously not great. So we've made some changes to our insert design so that this is the bridge 4 insert I've got here, obviously, but no longer a problem at all. Your bridge sits perfectly in there, is really well protected, and I think it looks pretty schmick. So yeah, new packaging, that's very cool. Lastly, before I mention, actually we might, hopefully this isn't a big deal, but let's put this at the start of the video because it's big news. We have bridge 6s in stock. I know, like regular, oh, that was a bit loud, let's try again. We have bridge 6s in stock. Regular stock. We have them on the shelf ready to go. So if you put an order in, your order will be shipping out really quickly rather than waiting for a new batch to be manufactured. So we've got a good chunk of units on the shelf ready to ship. We also have a bunch more parts and closures on the way, so that we shouldn't, fingers crossed, run out of stock. And you shouldn't have to wait for that. In addition to that, our retailers have had fresh batches of bridges shipped to them. So if you want to get your hands on some, you can head to our site or head to any of our retailers, especially if you're in Australia. We've got a couple of new retailers on board, so very exciting times. Lastly, talking about device API. So if you've been following along, I've been doing a big overhaul of our BridgeOS. So BridgeOS will be transitioning from BridgeOS 1. Whatever my version, to BridgeOS 2.0. Now, 2.0 is huge. It might not look too different at first launch, but underneath, it's undergone huge changes, huge. It's sort of while we're at it, let's pay off a bunch of technical debt that we've accumulated along the way. And if you're not familiar, technical debt is a term typically in software development or general kind of like IT or engineering, where let's say you're developing an app and you want to ship it and you have a hard ship day. Maybe your manager says we have to get it shipped and launched by this date. So you maybe take some shortcuts or just do things in a bit of a quick and dirty manner to get your app out the door. Now, all well and good, but if you want to keep developing for that app, those shortcuts that you've taken might mean that your code is really hard to read or confusing, or just has some form of limitation that down the road is going to affect you. And that's what technical debt is, where you're sort of trading off future time for present time. And pretty much any technical development will have this, whether you're writing software, especially software, but software, managing hardware, whatever it is, you're always going to have some amount of technical debt. That's just the way it goes. And yeah, pretty much we've just taken this opportunity to pay off some of that technical debt. So that means just refactoring things so that they're much more flexible, much more scalable, much more performant down the road and also now. So for example, the BridgeOS code base, I think I've seen, going off the top of my head here, but we've got a RAM reduction of around 15 to 18%, as well as a flash size reduction in a bit over 20%. So really big savings, which is going to allow us to keep pushing BridgeOS forward for many, many more years to come, which is really exciting. One of the big changes to device API is that we've removed command ID numbering. So if you've played around with it, you'll know that whenever you send a command in device API, you have to preface it with an integer number followed by a comma and then your command, and that allows for sort of command matching. So let's say you send an invalid command or there was some error in there, the device can respond to exactly which command there was the error in. Sounds good, and it was. But as we continued to work with it and updated the editor and things like that, we realized that the use case for that, where you might be sending and receiving packets asynchronously, just wasn't there. It's really a send response type of protocol. So it didn't make sense to sort of have that, just extra processing, extra overhead and barrier for entry to someone who just wants to open up a serial terminal and get started with it. So yeah, we've removed that and it's really simplified and streamlined things. One of our community members, I won't name him because I haven't checked with him before if he's cool with that, but he'll know who he is, sent me a couple of units of the Boss. Where are we? Boss. What is this? FS1WL, which is the Boss wireless foot switch. Now, he loves our Power MIDI controllers, has owned several of them. Very unique use case though, where he plays an acoustic instrument in sort of smaller intimate venues, and foot switch noise, even with really nice high quality foot switches, is a big deal for him. So he's been using this Boss FS, FS1WL unit, because they're a rubber foot switch, so virtually silent, which might be really important in your use case. And it's got an interesting quirk, an interesting issue he found, where it can be powered via battery. Sorry, it can be powered by internal batteries. It can be powered via a DC jack. It has USB connection, but it cannot be powered via USB. What gives? And there's not any significant technical reason I can see for this. So it just uses two standard AAA batteries. Now, the nominal cell voltage of a AAA battery is 1.6 volts, which means that around 3.2, 3.3 volts, you're going to be powering this thing. So 5 volts for USB is obviously going to be plenty. So he sent a couple of these units to me, got them shipped to me and said, hey, if you get a second, I'd love if you could take a look if it'd be possible to mod this so that it can be powered via USB for his use case. And I said, yeah, if they arrive at my doorstep, I'd be more than happy to take a look. So I'm going to be doing that. I'll try and just maybe find an evening, sometime maybe this week or next week, where I don't have anything on, and we're going to open it up together, going to have a look at a top-down camera, kind of similar to the Teardown Tuesdays we used to do, take a look at it and see what's inside, see, first of all, if it reasonably can be modded for USB power, and also if that's a process I can document and would recommend that someone else can follow. So, should be interesting. That is all for today. That is Simon telling me things that I need to do. So, farewell. Bye.